Hi everyone, welcome to the Women Who Code podcast. I'm Sonakshi Pandey and I lead the cloud track at Women Who Code. Our guest today is Tieisha Smith. Tieisha has over 20 years of experience across information technology and financial industries. Currently, she is serving as the Chief Administration Officer at Marsh McLennan Global Technology Infrastructure. In her role, she is responsible for ensuring IT organizations meet its strategic goals. She has an MBA in High Technology Management from Northeastern University and a BS in Business from Devra University, while holding ITIL, Six Sigma, Applied Project Management, and Executive Management certifications. She serves as an advisory board member for the Customer Experience Program at University of California. Now, let's talk more with Tieisha and get to know her career journey, and let's learn what's her mantra for success. So, hi Tieisha, how are you doing today?
Hi, Sonakshi. I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I I'm doing very well as well, and thank you so much for taking the time today to interview with me. So, we would like to know about your career journey. So, can you tell us more about it?
Sure. My career has been, I think, a series of happy accidents. I did not know, um, I didn't know what I wanted in my career when I first started. I didn't know what I wanted to do. When I started college, my initial major was computer information systems. But as I started taking the courses, I found that, programming came easy to me, but it just wasn't something that I was interested in. I realized kind of early on that I wanted a role that would enable me to leverage my creativity as well as have a lot more engagement with customers, clients, and colleagues. So I switched my major to business with a concentration in marketing, and somehow I still ended up in tech. So when I started my career after college, I started in support. So I worked at a help desk and I supported an application that was used by insurance agents. I had learned that application so well that when an opportunity came up on the QA team that tested that application, they tapped me for it and I accepted. And I think this was the first of many roles that I accepted in my career where I didn't have direct experience, but I was able to leverage transferable skills and skills that I had learned from other roles to be successful. I had done that for, a few years. QA testing came natural to me because I am analytical. I am, always curious. I'm always playing around and tinkering. So it came very easy to me, although I never saw myself being a tester, right? It wasn't a discipline that I even knew existed. But after a few years, I moved on to another role. I became a business analyst. Once again, another role that I didn't have direct experience in, but I was able to leverage previous experience to be successful in that role. So in the role of a business analyst, I went from testing to being the person that worked with the sponsors and interpreted their requirements into something that I could then deliver to developers so that they could develop, either a new product or enhancements to an existing product. I also in that role managed the testers. So that was a completely different role for me. It flexed a different muscle for me. It started to give me that piece that I was looking for, which was, that stakeholder engagement, working more with colleagues and clients and really talking them through scenarios, et cetera. So I really enjoyed that role. But then I moved on from that company and I started with the company that I'm with today. And I took a step back just to get my foot in the door at this company, right? So I started back in support again, but it was a very different role. When I was in support the first time, it was a specific application in the role that I took. it was several applications. They were all proprietary applications, but it was a lot more of a technical role. And I was doing things that I had not done before. But it was good. It was exciting because it was all new for me. And I love that. I love being in a position where I don't know what's going on and I have to figure it out. And you'll notice that as a theme as I go through the rest of my career, because pretty much every role that I've taken has been something that I did not do before. After a while, I think about 2 years of being in that role, I became a manager of that team, but then we went through a reorg, right? So we became more of a shared services organization for IT. So all of the IT teams kind of moved under one organization, and everyone was sort of scared at this time. But for me, I was a little bit excited because for me, it represented opportunity. And I took advantage of that opportunity and took the opportunity to ask for something that I wanted. At that time, I had started learning ITIL. So I had just gotten my ITIL certification. And I had an interest in change management, infrastructure change management. Once again, something completely different. My entire career had been on the software side of things. Now I was moving into infrastructure, which is completely different. And I was moving into process management, also completely different. So, I asked to be on this team, even though I didn't have any relevant experience. But someone, thought enough of me to say, you know what, I'm going to give you a shot. Go ahead, you can go and be on the change management team. And I was on the change management team, and about a year in, I was promoted to the global lead of that team. And in that role, I was responsible for defining what that process was, getting that process accepted by all of the business stakeholders, defining requirements for the tool set that we use that would support that process, defining our reporting. All of that was my responsibility in managing the team of change managers across the globe. I really enjoyed that role for a long time. And I think I did that role for about maybe 8 or 9 years. I was in that role, and I really enjoyed it. It was something that stretched me in a lot of ways because I was so insecure going into that role, because I did not have that infrastructure experience. I didn't have that process experience, but something in me just knew that I could do it. Around the time when I started to finish up my MBA, I started thinking about, I need to take on a different role. I need to start using what I'm learning in grad school. I wanted to manage a bigger team. I wanted to get more involved in the budget. I wanted to do more strategy. So at that time, I took a different role, and it was completely different. Once again, I was responsible for service delivery in user support, right? So I was managing desktop support for all of our offices on the West Coast. Completely different for me because I had never done desktop support. I had done support before, but not desktop support. So I had to go back and learn, how a computer works, right? All of the different components of a PC, learning all of the jargon, meeting with the business leaders, understanding what their needs are. In this role, it allowed me to use a lot more of my creativity. Because you had to find ways to engage the business, right? You had to find ways to solve some of their problems, because at the end of the day, my role was to make sure that they were able to do their job and, service their clients, right? Very important job. So it was very important for me to be on top of everything in terms of service delivery. And I needed to find ways to better engage with the business and deliver better service to them. That role was actually really, really pivotal in my career because it prepared me for the role that I'm in now, right? Where I'm in a non-technical role. So in my role now, I'm managing the operations for the IT organization. And, once again, it was a role that I didn't have direct experience in, but every role that I had taken in the organization prepared me for this role because I have a good understanding of how the entire organization works, because I've taken different roles and different functions throughout my career. And not only that, I've done a lot of process management. I've done, stakeholder management all through my other roles. Where I am now it just, everything that I had done previously built up to where I am now. So that is kind of my journey in a nutshell. And as you've heard, everything that I've done has been something that I wasn't completely confident that I could do, but somehow I was able to do it.
So Taisha, that is super inspiring, and I think your journey will definitely inspire everyone listening to it to, first of all, not be afraid of change, embrace change as it comes, because this is how we've learned that how change can be important in helping you grow in your career. So thank you for sharing your career journey with us. We would also like to know how Marsh McLennan has been supportive of your career ambitions.
Marsh McLennan has been very supportive of my career ambitions. First and foremost, when looking at a company that you want to join, you need to take a look at the benefits that they offer, right? And one of the things that was very attractive to me about Marsh McLennan was the benefits that they offered. I have been able to, obtain several certifications. I have been able to complete an MBA, all debt free. And that is because I have been able to leverage the benefits that Marsh McLennan offers. On top of that, I've had a number of mentors and sponsors, both formal and informal, that have, aided in my development, have spoke my name in rooms that I wasn't in, and vouched for me to have certain opportunities. I've also worked under managers and management teams that created a culture that I felt enabled me to be open about my career aspirations. That's not always the case, right? Sometimes you feel like, if I say what I really want to do and it's not this, would I get fired, or, would they prevent me from taking certain opportunities or working on certain projects because they know ultimately I want to move and do another role? That wasn't the case here. Not only were my managers, very supportive, and my management teams have been very supportive of what I wanted to do in my career. They've taken steps to get me where I wanted to go in my career. So I've been very appreciative of that. And then further, the sheer breadth of this company has enabled me to take on several different positions, live in several different states. I can't speak enough about how Marsh McLennan has aided in my career ambitions.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we find companies that gives us perks, but a lot of times we are also afraid to ask for those perks, or like approach the company, tell them what you want, right? So that is,
Absolutely.
you bring up an amazing point there. So Daisha, did you like how did you get into leadership?
Um, Getting into leadership, to me, it took years of preparation. It's not an overnight thing. Don't come into your career thinking that in 2 years you're going to be in leadership. That may happen for some people, but that's the exception and not the rule. You have to work at this. So first and foremost, most importantly, you have to build a reputation of being, forward thinking or doing great work. It starts with the work. First and foremost, do a great job at the job that you have, right? And then for me, it was, making sure that I deepened and broadened my skill set. That was, me getting my MBA. That was me taking different roles, even if they were a step back or a lateral move, if they enabled me to expand my skill set and ultimately get me where I wanted to go. Those things were important in my journey. Also, building and maintaining relationships. This is so important. I can't stress it enough. You need to make sure that you build and maintain relationships, not just for, transactional purposes, because you're not always looking to leverage your relationship to get you somewhere. You may leverage that relationship to get someone else somewhere, right? But those relationships are important. Those are going to be the people that will think of you when opportunities come up, right? So build and maintain relationships. That is so important. And a lot of times we take that piece for granted.
Yeah, I agree. And building relationships, I would say, is the easy part, but maintaining relationships is something that requires work, and that makes a lot of sense, Taisha. So can you also tell us about what is your superpower?
What is my superpower? Now, this is an interesting one. I think I may have two superpowers. One, I think my creativity. Think different has always been a motto for me, and it has served me well in my career. I also think talent development is another superpower for me. I enjoy seeing my team members develop and flourish in their careers. And the company is only as good as its people. So I think talent development probably is my number one superpower, because I really do enjoy helping others reach their goals.
I love it. I love it. And I think this is a quality that we all secretly want in our own managers to help you grow and develop in your career. Taisha, so one more thing that we really, and like I personally would like to know is what would your advice be for women who want to get into leadership roles?
First and foremost, you need to understand the skills and experience required for the role you want and be intentional with the moves you make in your career, right? So if you know that ultimately where you want to be requires you to have, people management experience, then you need to be intentional about trying to have roles that give you that experience, right? If you know that the role that you ultimately want to be in requires, for you to understand Kubernetes, for example, right? Make sure you go and you learn it, and any opportunity that you take moves you in that direction. I think also what's important is seeking mentors and sponsors, not just a mentor, but also a sponsor, right? A mentor is going to help you develop, is going to help you be able to navigate. But that sponsor is going to be that person that opens the door for opportunity. And I think a lot of times we always think about mentors, but we forget the sponsor conversation. That's very important. Those are going to be those people that open those doors and help you get opportunities that you're trying to get, so both are very important. And I think also, just raising your hand for stretch assignments and roles. Don't be afraid. As you heard in my career journey, every role that I've taken, I didn't have direct experience in, but I was successful because I believed in myself. And I knew that I was going to work hard to learn whatever it was that I needed to learn. So don't be afraid to raise your hand for something, even if you don't have all of the experience for it.
Yeah, I mean, that personally, like to me, it makes so much sense. There's hard work, there is the risks that you take, and places you push yourself, and then there is then you have mentors and sponsors who like advocate for you when you're not in the room. That makes a lot of sense, Taisha. Can you also tell us, what are you passionate about outside work?
What I'm passionate about outside work, um, music. I love music. I'm an avid concert goer. I'm so happy that all of the COVID restrictions are starting to lift now because I can go back to concerts again. I'm so happy. And the other is a new passion that I'm developing, which is building furniture. Completely different from what I do in my career. But those are two things that I really enjoy.
That is fantastic. I mean, so I'll share one tidbit about myself. I've never been to a concert. Like listening to you and how much joy it is bringing you, I'm definitely going to ensure I go to a concert this year.
Definitely
um,
do it.
Absolutely, I have to do it. Tasha, any pro tip for women in tech?
There's a few. I would say always operate with integrity. I think sometimes, we have this goal in mind, and sometimes, there are people that are willing to do anything to get there. Don't be that person, right? Always operate with integrity. And that will serve you well in your career, right? Because it's all about relationships, right? And if you've acted in a manner that is unbecoming, people will remember that, right? Always act with integrity. um, I think also being a woman in tech is not easy. And if you're a Black woman in tech, it's that much harder. So you have to be the best. And what does that mean? That means that you have to know your stuff. Be invested in learning. Be committed to lifelong learning, because this is technology, which means it's always changing, right? You don't want to get left behind, and you always want to be someone that knows their stuff and is marketable. In order for you to do that, you have to commit to lifelong learning, and you have to do the job better than everyone else, unfortunately. That's just kind of where things are. Hopefully we'll get to a place where that's different, but be a lifelong learner. Stay on top of your skills. Make sure you know what you need to know to do the job that you want. And then I think stay curious, ask questions, be open to new experiences. And I think those things will get you far. And lastly, pay attention to your money. That's another thing that we don't talk about enough. Making sure that you take advantage of what your company offers you in terms of investments and savings, that is what gives you freedom, right? It gives you freedom to say, you know what, maybe I want to step out on faith and try something different. Maybe I want to start my own business. Maybe I want to take make a pivot in my career and do something completely different. But a lot of times what holds us back is that you are not stable enough financially to make those kinds of decisions. So as you are, growing in your career and you're growing in your salary, make sure that you're taking responsibility for that, and you are investing appropriately. Pay yourself first, because that's going to open up the door of freedom and opportunity for you. So mind your money.
I mean, that is an advice that I haven't heard anyone else give me before, and that really gives me a very fresh perspective to how financial independence can give you freedom to take risks in your career. I love it, Taisha. And towards the end, your journey has been so inspiring, and you have given us such amazing tips. I am sure that people out there who are listening to this podcast want to connect with you. So, can you share with us what is the best way people can be connected with you?
Sure. That would be LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm on there every day. And I can be found under Tieisha Smith on LinkedIn.
That sounds perfect, Aisha. It was awesome interviewing you today. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much for all the tips that you have provided us.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.